Hello and welcome, beloveds, to another episode of Ask Dr. Mumbi. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways and that you're moving into living life truly on your own terms. Really want to thank every single person that has subscribed to the channel, beloveds. Dr. Mumbi Spiritual Show. That's a new name. And go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. It's absolutely free. We really do love all the questions we get from you. You can always email us drmumbi at drmumbishow.com. So, I've been getting a lot of questions from you, and I usually pick the one that's asked the most. And I got this one. I've been getting this from young people. Like, how did Babylon get so much power? How do they have so much power over us? It's just because they've tricked the system, beloveds. They're the great trickster. And so they found out how the system works. And then they've literally rigged the system so that they rule to work in their favor. And it's taken obscurity. It's taken, totally erasing not only people's stories and cultures, but people's narratives, totally, because they get that the world is mental. But all this time, throughout the thousands of years that Babylon has been playing towards this end game, because we are now at the end game. And all the thousands of years that they've manipulated us, it's all been about controlling the group mind. And what they wanted, beloveds, from the start was to create an artificial group mind from all the minds, primarily the melanated minds across the globe, that they could now use, that they could use our energy and our spiritual power, put it together collectively, and use that energy to propel them deep into the spiritual kingdom, our spiritual kingdom, propel them deeply up, like use our energy, as a nuclear bomb to kind of penetrate into the realms. Because, beloveds, not everyone on this world, on this planet is the same. Not everyone in this world is the same. People are very different. People have very different powers. But one of the things they've wanted us to believe is that we're all uniform. There are some of us who come from much higher realms that others will never, ever even penetrate, or even, they can't even breathe it. They can't even conceptualize that it exists. And so the curiosity of the inorganic ones is what has led to this whole on. They literally wanted to create like a human hard-on, collider kind of thing, like what they created in CERN, like get all our energies to propel. That's how I feel spiritually. But they really don't have power. They've artificially created that power by getting us onto their grid. So all of us have abandoned our stories, have abandoned our missions, have abandoned, what we're here to do for our nations, for our kingdoms, for our queendoms. And we've all gotten into this crazy, artificial reality created by the Babylon system, where we have to work and give them our energy so that we can get this fake paper money with their ancestors on it, so that we can trade to own things. I mean, they've created such an intricately deep and complex reality, when actually the beauty of life is very, very simple. And so the power, Babylon has always been trying to get the power, because they got our secret knowledge. But, I released a show where I talked about how Babylon only got less than 10% of our spiritual knowledge. And look how they're mashing us up. Thank God they didn't get their hands on the rest, because they're already doing so much damage with the little they have. But their mission was always to get enough spiritual energy that they could now use us as a weapon, weaponize us against our reality, our spiritual worlds, etc., etc. It can happen. I mean, but because they're so spiritually low, they don't know it can't happen. They're still going to try it. And so the only way they could do that was in creating this artificial global mind. So by getting us to all speak on the same language, that got us on one level of the grid. Then getting all of us to believe in one religious story, the dominant people. Because you see, collectively, The world moves through the people, the minds of the people, and there's something called the group mind. And I've talked about the group mind so many times, but each nation, like each peoples, has their own group mind. And then you go, there's collective group mind. So as a woman, I'd also be connected to the global woman group mind. I'd be connected to the melanated women's group mind. I'd be connected to the Ayakoyo women's group mind. Not so much because, I didn't have the opportunity to interact with that as deeply. And so there's all these group minds that I'm connected, that you connect to. And so what they did is they created one group mind with their seven pillars, with their religion, and then their education, and then their economic system, which basically entraps you on the hamster wheel. And then there's social health services, etc., etc. So they are telling you, they are giving you the narrative on health. They're giving you the narrative on lifespan. They're giving you the narrative on how to, trade with others, how to survive. And we all accepted that narrative. And there's many ways that it's been done, that it's been manipulated onto us. And I read somewhere, we chose to experience this. We chose to experience the dark side, you know? Excuse my neighbors, beloveds. It's so crazy today. I don't know what's going on. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, Africa.
Welcome back, beloveds, to Ask Dr. Mumbi. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? Today I'm addressing one of the questions I get from a lot from young people because, at least they're more self-confident. Some are more self-confident than others. But really, for young people, with the narrative that's being given and the narrative that's always been pushed, you'll always feel like the Mzungu has done everything and saved everything and done all these amazing things. But our people, the narrative that's pushed out there is quite depressing, and it just seems like Babylon has conquered the world. That's what they want people to mentally believe, and they conquer because so many people do believe and really do absorb that, and that is their subconscious frame of reference. You can talk to them and they'll be like, nah, ban Babylon, blah blah blah. But when you listen to their deeper conversations, and if you were to be, an ant of their internal wall and hear what they were saying to themselves, you'd realize that it's quite the opposite. Because even you give Babylon power by giving so much of your energy to Babylon, but also by negating yourself and negating your power and saying things like, we're done, we're doomed, oh, Africa will never be free, oh, they're coming back to invade. I bet the words of our own people who say that helps Babylon more than anything else. Because it's like they put out certain stories to create a certain energy. Because as I was saying before we took the break, Babylon has managed to create like an artificial global that's shrubbing in Kenya. An artificial global mind. And you see, the world moves according to the thoughts of the majority, if we can just put it as basically as that. The powerful ones can override. If the powerful ones were to come together, they can override the majority. But because people are so, divided and conquered, and many are rising up, but because we're so spread out, right now the group thought is the main thing that is driving this reality. And there's so much that Babylon is doing. They're pumping trillions of their fake money. They're doing absolutely everything they can to ensure, to secure and control this artificial mind. That's why we're seeing now that we're in the age of censorship. It's not so much about the pandemic. It's bigger than that. It's to now start to culture people and inculcate people with a false narrative on one side, but by making people afraid to voice the truth. And the way they've been able to do it is by hitting people financially, mainly like on YouTube. You're hit financially, so you become a lifestyle channel, and you don't want to dive too deep. There's many other ways with bullying, with threats. threats of a lawsuit. It's all these things, beloved, have made many of our people who were speaking out kind of, quiet down. Many of them have been taken off the major platforms. So censorship is so important right now because there's so much information available. And Babylon used all these alternative minds, all our energies, to create this global artificial mind. And now they're hijacking and taking over the mind and saying, no, this voice can't be here, that voice can't be here, this idea is not allowed, that idea is not allowed. And they're slowly tweaking the truth, beloveds. Very slowly, like Wikipedia style. So eventually, they'll have rewritten the narrative and no one will have noticed. That's basically where we're at right now. And so the way that we defeat this artificial mind is, first of all, we must disconnect from it by having our own narrative, pursuing alternative narratives, not even for a second clicking onto the kind of vibe that they're creating in their artificial mind. Their artificial mind is this AI thing. That's where they really controlled it. But they started with the news and the education and the religion and the economic system. But now the final conquest was like through all these things, they made everything digital. Dig it all. So that now people are entrapped in this artificial, and they can now take people this way and that way. And people just give subconscious consent for Babylon to perpetuate itself when Babylon has already fallen spiritually. It's the people that are upholding this broken and collapsing system through this artificial mind. And it's hard because they've made it so addictive. So that by the time the information age came out and we would know the truth, they made it so that we'd all be addicted to this artificial social world where they could even falsify the truth. But the most dangerous thing that I've noticed is, like, even with news stories and narratives, they're slowly tweaking them out. They're slowly changing the narrative. So if you see something that you think is like really, important and eye-opening, take a screenshot, because you could go back to that article and they've tweaked it a little bit, because they must control the global mind. But it's their control is like so wobbly. That's why you're seeing all this negative, they're trying to bully people into their world. It can't work. But what the only thing they do is they keep you from yours and from building yours and creating yours. We have so much to do as a melanated people. They crushed all our systems and then mimics them. And we don't need to build all these systems, because there's things that we did naturally. We just need to return to ourselves continuously and build this wicked system for ourselves. There's so much we've learned as a melanated people. This is definitely, it didn't kill us. So it definitely made us stronger, but we must defeat this global artificial mind. And the way to defeat it, beloveds, is awaken yourself, detach, and then power up through affirmations, through healthy eating, through healthy living, through being in nature. And you'll know you're powering up because, you'll become more intuitive, more sensitive. You'll say things and they manifest more quickly. And then once you're there, once you've reached that point, then now, I want to say the priesthood will reach out. It sounds so mystical, but literally, I feel like spiritually, we're all like this beautiful orchestra, and the spiritual realm is running things. So, it's not going to happen physically. When you're ready, the spiritual teams, in physical reality, the physical partners you need, all of them will manifest because it's being run from a higher level. And we're winning, beloveds. But you need to convince yourself of that. Get out of the artificial mind, and then let's create our own. Because if we can power up, beloveds, and get out of the artificial mind and work on ourselves, when we come together, it won't take that many to create a new mental reality for our global melanated family. Tuko pamoja.